Hola familia.
Hi guys.
This is Eden.
And this is Yessie.
I hope you guys didn't forget about us, but it's us again.
Yeah, here we are.
Your favorite chingonas
And lloronas.
and lloronas for sure.
And so evidently, Edith and I have not seen each other in what feels like a lifetime.
I know it's been like 3-4 weeks.
Yes.
Because we saw each other the first week of May.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
So the last time we got together, we were talking about the eclipse. So that's how long it's been. And we're trying this new thing where we don't talk to each other that much until we get on here because the juiciness tends to come out beforehand.
It does.
So how you been, Edith?
I've been great. I've been really, really good. I just got back from Chicago. I went to go visit one of our best friends, Diana and Alejandro.
Post engagement.
Yes. You're getting married. Another wedding.
Another wedding that we're excited for.
Yeah, so it was really good. I went to Sueños, to the music festival. If you haven't heard it, it's a Latino music festival in Chicago. It's my first year attending, and I have mixed feels about it.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I think it was the weather.
Okay.
Because there was a thunderstorm pretty much all weekend. So I think that ruined it a bit. And
Did it delay anything?
Yeah, we had a delay Sunday. Doors didn't open until 4, and then we were only there till like 7:30 or 8 because it started evacuating everyone because apparently another storm was coming.
Oh, damn.
So we didn't get to see Peso Pluma, which was a little sad, or Manuel Turizo, which was one of my favorite ones that I really wanted to see. And I wanted to see Alexis y Fido, old school reggaeton.
Yes.
But we were stuck getting inside for like an hour. The lines were just very unorganized. People were getting frustrated. Everybody was just like all over the place since everybody had a lot of time to pregame.
Yeah.
Guilty. But yeah, despite that, like the group itself,
like who you
fun.
went with?
Yeah, it was so much fun. I feel like we made the best out of it, despite of how
it looked like you guys were having so much fun. Yeah,
it was fun. Saturday felt like forever. We were there all day because we wanted to see one of the very first ones that started performing till like Raúl Alejandro. So we were there for like 10 hours.
Damn.
Which felt like 10 hours.
I bet you guys were fucking tired.
No, we were like super. I don't know if y'all can tell I look more darker because I did get a sunburn. Like you can see it right here and my back. But no, it was actually really fun because we should like he's like I want to
Mama, you want to come? Can I hold
you?
Will he bite me? You want to come? Can I grab you? I'm scared.
No, he won't bite you.
Come here.
Or maybe
bitch. I don't know. I don't know. I'm getting mixed signals here. Me, guys. I'm scared. You grab me. I know I was gonna laugh. Hi. He's like, no. Okay. Okay, so the reason why I'm scared of him is because one of the times that I came by, I think when we first started recording together, one of them attacked me and like got my laces from my shoe and just like shook it aggressively. I know he's a tiny dog. Yeah, but it was scary.
He can get very overprotective. He's Chico. I get them. So there's 2 of them. They're my sister's dogs. So, they just got a haircut. So he gets very, very cold.
Yeah.
So you might see him shivering. It's not that he's scared. It's just that he's cold. But anyways, what I was saying, it was fun. It was still
I'm
really
glad
fun.
you had fun.
It was a very long day of live music, which I really love, and really great company, which I really love, and it was fun. And I'm back, and tomorrow's my birthday, so I'm excited.
It is.
Which by the time this recording airs, my birthday was Thursday, so.
Wait, how old are you turning? I know, but tell them now.
I'll be 29. So I'm really excited. I don't feel sad to turn older. I use it as a way of like older, smarter, wiser, finer.
Yes, finer.
But I'm excited.
That's awesome.
So
yeah, I'm very excited for tomorrow.
What about you? How you been?
So, I feel like this month has been a whirlwind. Like, there's been so many things that have happened. I have finally applied for my citizenship. That was a whole process, and a whole bunch of money. And then
didn't it go up or something like that?
I don't know, girl. It's like $790 something right now, so almost $800 to do it. Which I'm thankful that I did it, because it seems like with like the name change and stuff, that won't go into effect until I pass the test or whatever, and I get sworn in. So, and that's good for my passport and all that. So that way I don't have to update anything beforehand, and nothing gets like delayed for my bachelorette trip.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that. And then I also applied for this grant to do EMDR, or to get trained in EMDR. And EMDR is like this eye movement, something that helps kind of like process trauma.
I think it's like eye movement, some treatment. I think that. No, I don't know.
I'm getting trained in this shit. I don't even know.
I've done it before with my therapist, and it's kind of like helping you with like past trauma or like stuff like that.
So it's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So ideally what it does is like your eyes are moving back and forth, and that helps you process information, because that's how our body processes information naturally. So I ended up getting it, and it's going to get paid for entirely.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that.
I think that was the last time I saw you. You told me that you had applied for it, but you hadn't told me that if they were going to give it to you.
Yeah. So I'm like super blessed and so grateful for that. What else has happened? This past weekend we went to Bob Wentz. It's this like park up north. It's like this not water park, but it's like beach access to the lake. And I got sober.
Really?
Yeah. I got sober.
Did you use sunscreen?
I did use sunscreen, and also like the walk was like in and of itself, like el sol está horrible.
I know.
It feels bad. I don't like it.
I know, dude. I feel like that is everywhere. We went to Mexico earlier this month for our cousin's wedding, and oh my god, like the heat. I think this is the very first time I experienced this heat where my mom is from San Luis Potosí. It gets hot, but this was like, I don't know, like it was crazy hot. It was just, I was not able to sleep at night. It was just really bad, so I get it.
Yeah, it's been really bad. And like the storms that have been happening, like Temple got a tornado, Houston got tornadoes like a couple times, so yeah.
Bless everyone, and I hope everyone is safe. And I know there's a lot of stuff going around the world, so I will keep praying for everyone. It's just, you see, we leave for what, a month?
Not me leaving.
What do you mean? But what else? What else has been going on?
I don't know.
Let's talk about happy things, because
let's talk about happy things now. Okay.
How's the wedding?
The wedding planning, I mean, we're still at the same point. I mean, I think we have everything figured out. We just need to pay for everything.
Should we start a GoFundMe, guys?
Yeah, please. Leave.
I was talking to Diana about it. They were like, they should make something where like people who have money and they're very generous are just like, here's some money for your wedding.
Yeah.
Or like asking for, instead of getting gifts, like asking for money so that you can pay for the wedding beforehand. And I was telling them, I was like, that's what they do in Mexico. They have padrinos, madrinas, like, and they have like all of these things. And I'm like, but it's different because I know that some people are not used to like to that. And
I think like we thought of doing that, but I think to some certain extent, like shame can kind of come into that, especially when your family isn't very like giving in that way.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things that I struggle with the most is like rejection, and to me, like to ask that and for them to be like no, and it's not even like the wedding is gonna happen no matter what. However, traditionally, like that's usually what happens is like you go ask for padrinos, like people who will give you money for certain things, and I've gotten some, but for the most part, it's been quiet.
Yeah.
So I have lots of thoughts about that.
I feel like we could have a whole conversation on that.
Yeah, but I also think it depends on how close you are to your family, and I don't think that my external family is that close. Like I know, like my immediate family is close-ish, but I think outside of that, it's not as close in that way.
And I think it's the way that how your family works too. Like if it's something that is already expected, like, oh, la boda de yes is happening, so we need to save up because that's what we do as a family. We give each other.
Yeah.
But if it's not something that happens in your family, then it's a completely different story.
Yeah. It can get a little sad sometimes, but I think that there's a reason why things are the way that they are. So it is what it is for me.
But I'm glad that you guys are
speaking of happy things.
We literally have been like, you.
It's in a roller coaster.
Yeah. I feel like when we saw each other earlier, I was like, there's so many things I want to say, and now I'm like,
I know. I think we froze. We got nervous. We haven't been in front of the camera in a while, dude.
I know.
Not a lot has camera shy. I mean, that's not true. There's one big thing that happened, but no, to me.
Oh, I was like, what happened to me?
Pero I really want to talk about it.
Okay, we don't have to talk about it. Whenever you're ready, you can share it to everyone.
Whenever you're ready. Yeah, but for the most part, no. I mean, I think that I'm excited to be back in this. I've missed it. I've missed this, hanging out with you guys.
Me too.
Did you know that Tragos was at Sueños?
Oh yeah, we saw the tent. We saw the people doing like marketing and stuff. They were giving away stuff, but the line for everything was just huge, and we're just like, yeah.
Okay. But was Baja Beach?
I love Baja Fest.
Fest is like a total vibe.
And you know what? I was talking to Diana about it because I was like, I don't know if it was because we had a VIP that made it a whole different story. So I was like, I'm not the kind of girl that likes to be in the middle of the crowd and shaking her ass with everyone around them.
She's bougie here.
No, like, people get offended for everything nowadays. You have no idea how many fights there were out there because apparently someone pushed someone. And I'm like, dude, you're at a freaking festival. Obviously, somebody's going to shove over you or is going to step over you because there's hundreds of us in one park, one stage. Like, that's the only thing where it was a little like it was just one stage for a lot of people. But one thing that I do want to say is that we saw so many people like passed out. It was so sad. Like, I was just like, dude, like, people, please learn your limit. Like, that's one of the things that I can happily say that I'm starting to learn a little bit, where if you know that you have taken so much of something, just stop.
Yeah.
It was really like, it was really sad to just watch a lot of people pass down.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I didn't see as much in Baja. And
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think I realized that at Baja was a little bit more of an older crowd than it was at Sueños. Sueños is 18 up, so I feel like there was a lot of like minors, like 21 lower, that were like pre-gaming too hard because they knew that they were not going to be able to drink and everything. So they were the ones that were ruining it for everyone else. It's not that I'm bougie. Like I like mi raza. I like to be in there, but I'm just like, I don't want to be with people that don't.
Yeah. Don't know how to party.
Yeah. Because Sunday we did go into the middle when Maluma was performing, and for the like couple of minutes that he got. And we were so close to like a bunch of people around us, and we were dancing and everything, and we were like enjoying the vibe. So I feel like it's just hanging out with the right people and making sure that the right people go to the festival.
Yeah,
I feel like people just go because they're like, oh, we heard about this, but they don't go for the vibes.
Yeah, I think we should go to Baja Fest again. Yeah. LloronaPeroChingonaPod goes Baja Fest week?
Maybe they should sponsor us.
You want to go? Let's go.
Their lineup this year is a lot better than Sueños.
Really?
And then also Baja is 3 days and Sueños is just 2.
I think that if we go again, it would have to be like next year. Because there's just too much happening. Or at least for me, there's too much happening.
There's just a lot going to be happening within the next year. So nunca vamos a ir. Unless we get sponsored, just saying.
Unless you get sponsored, we should hit up the marketing. And Alejandro, go with the marketing.
But I love Baja. Baja was fun.
It was fun. The outfits are a vibe.
I just love the idea of, at least for like us with VIP, we were able to get into the after bars, like the after clubs with your wristband. And here at Sueños, you had to buy something else. You're already paying so much money for...
You guys had VIP?
No, we only had GA. But I think Baja, even if you get GA, you're still allowed to at least one. But if you get VIP, I think you're allowed to 2 of them.
Yeah, I think so.
So, I mean...
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I feel like you look like that Italian mobster. Que tiene como el gato en la...
Me, I am. But I'm Mexican.
But it would be a chihuahua. Instead of the cat. Ay, pues yo so put. Okay.
Dile, I'm not Chihuahua. Dile, yo no soy Chihuahua. She's like, Chihuahua, who? But what else? I'm trying to think. Yeah. But I was gonna say something when you were talking about our break. I just wanted to say that this whole break, we missed you guys and everything, but it felt really good.
We missed all our fans.
We did it was an out of routine because we normally meet like Wednesdays and Thursdays, or like we check in during the week or on the weekends. And this whole month I was like, what do I do? So I started crocheting again.
Oh.
I told you the last time I told you.
Yeah.
I'm doing like this blanket that I haven't worked in like a week, but I'm getting back to crocheting. So that's a good hobby. So my plants are thriving.
They are. They're looking good. Yeah. But because life just started to happen this month, and I think that it was all just getting very overwhelming for the most part. Like I had family in town for a minute, and then we were going to be out a couple weekends, so we weren't going to have a lot of time to do this and put our 100% effort into this.
Yep.
So I think that's why we kind of decided to take a break, but now we're back. We might be a little rusty, but we're getting there again.
But are we done on check-ins?
I think so. I think we're good. We Gucci.
But what's not rusty is the episode that we had.
Oh, what a transition! Wow!
Yeah, that is not rusty.
That is not rusty.
It's such a great episode. Such a great guest. Sorry, I iba a decir invitada.
Yes.
So like in my Spanglish. She's amazing. It was her first time meeting her virtually. Hopefully we can meet her in person.
I know. She talks a lot about just like being first gen and just a lot of things that kind of come with it. So we're very excited for you guys to hear from her. And
I don't know if I said it, we probably did, but she's amazing, and we hope you enjoyed the episode.
On today's episode of LloronaPeroChingonaPod, we welcome our amazing guest whose work we love, Dr. Lisette Sanchez. Dr. Lisette is a bilingual and bicultural psychologist, writer, and speaker from Long Beach, California. She enjoys working with BIPOC, first-generation professionals, founders, and entrepreneurs. She is the founder of Calathea Wellness Coaching and Psychological Services and empowers many of her first-gen followers on Instagram via her account at The First Gen Psychologist. Her work as a writer, A Love Letter to Latina First Gen Eldest Daughters, has been displayed on Hip Latina as well as other of her pieces. We welcome you, Dr. Lisette Sanchez.
Bienvenida.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you both. And I'm so excited, to I guess I was gonna be like to cry together, but probably I hope not. Maybe Llorona, because I'm a Llorona pero chingona, so I'm probably gonna cry a little bit.
Yes, we can do a little bit of both. We can talk about business, but we can also cry at the same time.
Yes.
For sure. Usually our slogan is aquí sí lloramos, and usually we are able to display it on here, pero hoy no se pudo. But that's okay. but
Technical difficulty.
Well, aquí sí lloramos.
Aquí sí lloramos for sure.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Lisette, where are you from?
I grew up in the San Fernando Valley in North Hollywood. So Valley girl, the original Valley, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I grew up Southern California. So anyone tuning in from Southern California, always a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yes, he's a Valley girl, but a Texas Valley girl.
Yeah, I'm like Texas Valley girl.
You see, you have to come to San Fernando Valley to understand the original Valley. I'm just that. Okay.
Valley girls through and through.
Valley goes through and through. Yes.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Dr. Lisette, can you tell us a little bit about, so the whole purpose of our podcast is to talk about first gens and our first gen experience. Can you tell us a little bit about your first gen experience and how it went? How is it going? Because as a first generation, it doesn't end at a certain point. It continues. It's a lifetime thing. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes. So I am first gen because my parents are both immigrants. My father is from Mexico and my mom is from El Salvador. And they came to the US when they were young, and they met in LA, right? So it's a little different than people whose parents are together before and then they come. So what do I want to share about this first gen experience? I think that when I think of the first gen experience, I think there's a lot of things that we find in common, but there's also a lot that we have that's very different. And I think there's the diversity within our first gen experiences. It's also something that's so powerful and so beautiful, which is why I'm so excited to be on this podcast, because I love being able to hear everyone else's as well as like differences in their first gen experiences. So when I think of the unique challenges that I should say common challenges that I experience that are maybe resonate with other first gens, I think of the limited education that my parents had access to. And so my mother and father both didn't have more than a middle school education, just because of the different circumstances that they were in the areas that they were growing up. My mom lives in a very rural area when she was young, and so there wasn't even a school where she lived. There was a traveling school teacher. That's how she learned to read and write and developed from there. And my dad, because he's one of 11 children, he had to drop out of school to help the family. So I always have a special place in my heart for the little kids who are selling chicles anytime I visit Mexico, because that was my dad at some point, right? So they, came to the US, and then, they moved. We were originally in LA. Like, I was born in Echo Park. If anyone knows the LA area, like, that's where I was originally my like hometown, but we moved to the Valley because that's where my grandma lived. Um, and the Valley is very, very like I would say like a cultural enclave, and so it's predominantly Latina, like predominantly Mexican, with some Central American elements. And so it was a protective factor for me because I was surrounded by people who looked like me, who had the same experiences. And so I always think of, the first gen shock really like happened when I was in college. And everything that led up to getting to college, right? So while my parents supported me wanting to go to school, right, there's only so much they could do to help me study, help me prepare, help me with everything. And then when it came to finally moving away to school, something that I think other first gens can experience, like your families don't want you to move away. They want you to stay close. And I'd say most families at least. And so there was a I guess a challenge I experienced with my family when I moved out because they weren't happy about it. But as an eldest daughter, I'm also quite stubborn. And so I left and I moved out and I went to college and didn't know what I was doing while I was there, like most first gens, right? I wanted to be a psychologist, thought I would go to college, and after 4 years, I was a psychologist. That's not how it is. I went to school for 13 years. It was .4. It was literally 3 times over what I thought it would be. And it's like because you're in the field, but yeah. And so I want to be mindful, make sure that I'm on track. So I think the biggest struggles I experienced in education. I think I also experienced struggles around like just different life lessons, how to navigate the world, like how do you navigate being a professional, how to navigate relationships, what does a healthy relationship look like, the way that my parents, modeled relationships the way that they saw it, and for them it was very different, right? A very much gender role, the expectations of a woman and a man, like the Marianismo and machismo really coming into play there. So I experienced that, witnessing that from my parents, and very much feeling a resistance to that. I'd say that my whole life I've noticed about my personality is like I am stubborn and persistent about the things that I love, and also about the things I know I don't want. So I figure it out. So I didn't want to live at home when I went to college, so I didn't apply anywhere that was close enough where I could go from home. So it's like that's what I did, right? And then but when it comes to like the relationships, I'd say that that's something that can sometimes be really hard. Finding a healthy dynamic in a partner when what I like to say is like I learned how to love through telenovelas, and you're like,
Yeah.
You guys bringing all the drama.
yeah, it like doesn't have to be that dramatic. And then I expected relationships to be that fiery, intense, like, or to be rescued in some way. I think that was the narrative that you learn from these novellas. And so challenges as first gen, again, to like make sure I stay on track. It's the limitations around what my parents could actually teach me, which meant that I became a parent very early on. I used to feel resentful about that, but now I look back at it and think about what a gift that was that I was able to give my parents, being that cultural bridge, and how being a cultural bridge isn't something that I am ashamed of or have a negative feeling towards anymore. I think that, I can have a lot of compassion for the experiences of my parents and the challenges they experienced and how they were just surviving and doing their best. And I know that everything they did for me was out of love, and they just were showing love in a way that I didn't fully interpret as love.
Yeah.
So learning that, but I mean, in this, I think there's so much that you can like, I think with everything with first gen, we can talk about guilt. We
There's
can
so
talk about the
much.
imposter.
Yes,
It's so much.
there is definitely so
So
much.
But we're gonna be focusing on something very important
Yeah.
in first gen. But before that, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do? I know that you're a
Yes.
doctor, you're a psychologist, but
hmm
what do you do?
What do I do?
¿Qué no
I feel
se
like I
hace?
feel I was like, what don't I do? That would be easier. I don't know. I do sleep. I was gonna say I don't sleep, but I love sleep. Um, so how do I want to start this? And so I'm a multi-passionate person, but I'm always incredibly passionate about this very one thing. And for me, it's this first gen experience. Um, I think growing up when I didn't see that representation, and I felt I like felt this calling to want to be a part of that representation. That's why I got the PhD. I didn't need a PhD. You don't need a PhD to be a therapist, right? To be able to provide mental health services. But a PhD for me has opened up a lot of doors and has made and sort of commands certain respect in certain settings. And so I understood very early on that having that degree and having that title would help me open up certain doors and be able to shift the narrative in the way that I was feeling passionate to. Now, that was the first dream. When I got here, I realized I didn't want to be in those rooms. I wanted my own spaces and my spaces that were more filled with my comunidad and my community, because that was really where the dream exists. The dream exists in uplifting each other. That's where the dream is. But I didn't realize that. Sorry, I didn't realize that before. I and so that's what fuels the work that I do. And so what is the work that I do? So I wear a few different hats, but I am a psychologist. And so I do individual therapy, and I do that online, virtually, for anyone located in California. And I specialize in working with first gens, specifically first gen professionals. To be clear, everyone's always like, well, what does that mean? So you're first gen professional. You're the first person in your family to have graduated college. You're the first person in your family to hold a professional job. Like, I think it's a very open interpretation. It does not mean that you have to be first person in your family to have immigrated or second gen, whichever gen you identify with. If you're the first person in your family to hold, to have graduated college, gone to college, or have a career that's more of this professional type of career, then you fall into this first gen professional category. And so that's one of the hats that I wear. I also write, and I write about the first gen experience and mental health. As that love letter to eldest daughters was one of my more creative writing pieces. And I was so grateful when the editor agreed. I was like, I have this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I share this with you because what I've learned about being first gen is that sometimes we limit ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? We have these ideas where it's like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I haven't seen someone like me do this. Is this okay? I don't think I'm a poet. Can I be like what kind of writer am I? Like, I write about mental health. Like, can I write something that's more creative like this? And I loved how supportive she was. And I was like, I have this like thing I want to do. What do
Yeah.
you think? Like, can I write this? And when she said yes, I remember how excited and terrified I felt because
Yeah.
now it's going to happen. And then it did. And it was very special to know that it was so well received and that people felt seen by it. Because I wrote it for myself, right? I wrote it for everyone who has these experiences. So that's why I'm so passionate, I think, about my writing, because it's, again, with the overarching goal of destigmatizing mental health, increasing access to mental health services and knowledge in spaces that maybe our community will actually read, right? I just had an article come out yesterday where I basically broke down a research study that I read. And so again, trying to make it more accessible. This study is actually, I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but it's about how the stress that your mother experiences while she's pregnant actually changes the biology of their firstborn daughter, and it leads them to experience puberty earlier. So if you're the eldest daughter and you were parentified, biologically, you probably also went through puberty earlier to prepare you for this parentification that you were going to go through. But you can check that out, like go into more detail. So therapy, I write, I speak about the first gen experience. And so I go to, large companies or smaller nonprofits and help normalize first gen mental health, speak on the imposter phenomenon a lot. Because again, for me, knowledge empowers. So I'm going to teach people in my individual therapy. I'm going to teach people through my writing. I'm going to teach people through my speaking engagements and through literally every other opportunity that I have. I just want people to know that something that we've created this like narrative around mental health and therapy that's been very negative. And my goal is really to challenge that. And create space for conversations around it.
I love that. I
it.
think you definitely reach all those different levels, the micro, the meso, and the macro levels of just being able to educate, everyone really. I think that's so
I know.
I wish, I think like growing up and going through college, which was one of the hardest things to have to go through as a first gen, and learning to become an adult while having this like obligation to your family sort of, but while still trying to find yourself, and like having this account or even just like it's like see your like your talks and stuff, to be able to look up to that and just see like, if she can do it, I can too. So
absolutely.
Thank you for being that for all the other first gens that are making it through.
Yes.
I
really appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I have found have affected me, and I know Edith goes through this as well, and I'm sure like everyone else has, is imposter syndrome. Can you tell us a little bit more in a nutshell? What is imposter syndrome? What does it look like? What does it sound like?
All right. So first, I'm going to say is when I talk about this, I always challenge the term syndrome. Syndrome. Okay, when this term was originally coined, it was coined as the imposter phenomenon, and then at one point, I'm trying to remember her name, but anyway, the creator of this term, or the person who coined this term, said syndrome, like at one talk, and then people ran with it, and you ran with this term because what syndrome does, it pathologizes it, and it puts the blame on the individual rather than the systems that create the hostile environments that lead people to feel that way in the first place, right? So it's like a different way to experience that systemic oppression. It's telling you that, hey, we created a problem, but we're going to make you think that you created this problem and that you are the problem. But like actually,
victim blaming.
Exactly. and so anyway, so what it is this experience that many folks, especially first gen, high achieving people experience, and honestly, in all the research, is anyone with a marginalized identity, women, like BIPOC, like the queer community, like are more likely to experience this, and it is an experience of self-doubt, of being an imposter, feeling that you do not belong in settings, and as I mentioned, it's a response to an environment. Maybe you walk into a room, and I know I've experienced this. And particularly when I went for my master's, I go into the campus and you look on the walls and they have pictures of all the past presidents, all the past deans, whoever, and they're all white men. And you go in, and that's the first message you hear. Then you go in and you see who's at the front desk attending it, right? Like, depending how diverse this area is or not, may also not be someone who looks like you, right? And so in every single one of those are environmental cues to tell you, hey, you're different. You look a little bit different. You sound a little bit different. And couple that with, it's my first time, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like this. It becomes an internalized process or experience for someone. So what I want to normalize is everyone It doesn't matter if you're first gen, if you're whatever you are, everyone experiences self-doubt at any given point. It's just the way that we react to that feeling that changes, right? A person who sees themselves and their surroundings experiences self-doubt and thinks, oh, I just need to ask help from my mentor. I just need to figure out how to learn this, watch some YouTube videos. I just need a little bit of help. I just need something. We feel this and we say, shit, someone's going to figure out that I don't belong here. I'm going to lose this scholarship, this job, whatever it is. I need this. So I'm going to make myself as small as possible, and just work really hard and hope that no one notices. Right?
Yeah, I'm like laughing because in my mind, I'm like, oh crap, like that is very true. Like that's exactly what I experienced. And I think for the most part, also like the fear of failing. Like I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as my like other counterpart that is doing this.
Yeah.
So
Not only that, but also the thought of being in the spotlight but never being in the spotlight is just terrifying for me in a point. And me and Yessie have talked about this a lot of times. And then Yessie's like, imposter syndrome, imposter. And I'm
yeah,
like, yep.
there
yeah.
it is. It's like a little like monster that's just talking to you and feeding these lies to you. Yeah.
And talking about why do you think it exists? Why do you since you know a little bit more about it? I mean, I didn't know what it was until like probably a couple of years ago. And I mean, I felt it and I like seen it, but I didn't really had a proper vocabulary word for it. And I didn't know what it meant until like I was in school and I was like, oh, imposter syndrome. But why do you think it exists?
I mean, that's a big question. So I think what I'll say is that why does it exist? I think it exists to, like, if I say my honest thoughts, I'm like, I think it just exists because it's a different way to continue to oppress people of color. Like, I think it exists because it's just a different way to keep shutting you down, to make you feel like you're not good enough to take up space, so that you don't create your own spaces. Because remember, I'm like, I'm done tying. I'm not knocking on those doors. I'm like, I want my own door, because in my own door, I'm going to have my jarritos waiting for me on the other side. Okay. Like, so, but what I will say is something that I didn't share before is like, there are certain behaviors that people engage in that can reinforce this feeling that we don't belong. And that's something that I like to share, because it when we know that we do something that maybe reinforces this, then we again have the power to shift our behaviors. So there is research. Dr. Valerie Young did research and identified 5 subtypes. So these are 5 kind of characteristics the individuals have that lead people to feel like an imposter. All of these will be like, duh, common sense. Of course, that makes me feel that way, but most of us don't notice it until we're told. So one of them is called or actually, before I say this, have you heard that before, that there's different behaviors we engage in that reinforce that?
No, not yet.
All right. It's like, okay, so there's 5 subtypes. So one, and they're not in any particular order. And for folks tuning in, like, if you experience one or multiple of these, that's normal. I think most people I talk to experience at least one, if not all of them. So it's not, it doesn't mean anything differently if you relate to one or all of these. So just wanted to put that out there. So one is the soloist. So it's the person who needs to do everything by themselves. And they feel like a failure or like an imposter if they ever need to ask for help, right? So think about any time you've started a new position, right? Let's say you started a new job, and you show up, it's the first day, and they give you your orientation, you come back and you realize like, oh man, I took notes, but I don't remember how I'm supposed to do this. And that's when the fear comes in. Uh-oh, like they just trained me. Like, can I ask? Like, I can't ask. I have to figure this out on my own. So what happens, you go home, you get stressed out, you like spend all this time doing all this research, because if you asked for help, that meant you are an imposter. That meant you are a failure.
Mhm.
So that's one. So we have four more. The other one is the perfectionist. So you can imagine where this is going, right? The perfectionist, you make one mistake and you feel like an imposter, right? You're like, I failed, right? Not asking for help, needing everything to be perfect. The next one's a natural genius. I love talking about this one because I think it's in a lot of people, it's in a lot of first gens especially, but the natural genius is like when certain things just come more easily to you. Let's say you're learning, like let's say high school felt easy. Let's just put education environment. Then you start your first semester or quarter at college. And suddenly you're struggling in your classes, your GPA has dropped, and you have no idea what's going on, like what happened, right? But you're consuming new material that requires maybe different kinds of studying that you've never done before, in addition to the transition that you have of just going to college in the first place, right? So natural genius feel like a failure when they don't, when something feels hard, right? Now, you hear me say that and you think, well, like most things in life are always hard when you first start doing them, right?
Yeah.
But natural genius brain, we forget and we think we should just know. And then there's a super person, which is a person who can't say no and has to say, and says yes to everything, right? So they feel like a failure when they have to say, I can't do this. It's out of my capacity. It's out of my scope. But when you already have a full plate, anyone would have to say no. Right. And the last one, I'm blanking on what the term is to describe it, but it's the person, it's the person who has to collect all the certifications. And basically they need to be able, like they never feel like they're enough. And so they're always going to the next training, the next what would it be, like workshop, whatever they need to do to absorb information. And if someone asks them something they don't know the answer to, then they feel like, again, they're not enough. I don't know why I'm blanking
The
on
expert?
what it's called. Yes, the expert. Thank you. Did you look it up? I was like, what is it called?
Yeah,
The person who knows everything.
I need to know what it is because I have it and I feel it, especially, yeah.
I can officially say I'm an imposter of all 5 of them.
Okay, but you feel that, and you just have to like also notice it's like everything that I described in all of these, you're able to shift a behavior or something. And also, I want to make a note. Yes, actually, I'm so glad you looked it up. I'm an expert in the imposter phenomenon, right? I forgot the name of this category is the expert. And I actually talk about this a lot because even when we're experts in something, it's like, I can't know everything always, all of the time, because the research is always changing and growing. And so we have to like accept that we're going to always be learning. And that's the case with all of these.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that you're able to, first of all, teach us about the different subtypes, because I think it definitely gives us, there's one thing that I love about mental health is that it gives you a bigger awareness of things that you struggle with.
Yes.
And I think that by learning this, I'm like, well, no, I'm gonna cuss. I'm like, no shit. Like I'm in the subtype of the expert. Like I need to get my my certifications to become a play therapist. I need to have all these because they're going to prove that I am worth it, that I deserve to be here. And I think that's so like powerful to know, like you don't really need it. It's just something that's happening because you want to feel like you belong here. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the next time you feel that you have to do it all on your own, you have pause. It's like, I can ask for help.
Yeah.
Right. And then, so with all of these, I can ask for help. Actually, it would apply to all of them. I don't have to do this by myself.
You do that.
I know that we're running short on time, and with relating with all of this, what do you suggest people should do to come back to imposter syndrome? Like, as an imposter that I relate with all of this, what do you recommend me or suggest me to do?
Okay. So if we're talking about the subtypes, it's when you notice, like one is just begin noticing, like, okay, now we know that I engage in these behaviors. When I notice that it's happening, like what are different ways that I can challenge that, right? So when I ask that, if you're a soloist, you ask for help. If you're a perfectionist, you have to kind of sit with it. You're like, it's okay that there was a typo in that email. It's okay, like people make typos all the time. This is fine, right? And so finding that balance, and I think with that, it's self-compassion. But if I think of a tool and something that I think is very, very helpful with just challenging that mindset in general, it's creating what I like to call a brag sheet. And I've seen people call it that too. So I'm like happy because it's sort of reclaiming that. But it's your win. It's your win. Every time you receive a compliment, every time you do something well and you feel really good about it, you put it on this sheet so that you can remind yourself of the facts, right? You're having this moment, you're doubting yourself. It's like, well, who am I? Who is Yassi? Who is Edith? Like, who am I? And you go back and you're like, I'm a badass chingona, right? Like, and it's having to remind, like, I did this. We started this podcast, like we are, like whatever other, I mean, I just met you, so I'm like, I can't list all of your accomplishments, but just to remind, like, I did all of this. I mean, the fuck, they're first gens, and you've accomplished so much. All right. And so I think that's a really helpful tool. So recognizing sort of the patterns that you engage in so that you can kind of shift those, creating your list, and with that, being community about it, right? Us talking about it is a big part. Again, when we talk about destigmatizing mental health, like destigmatizing talking about this is so important. At every level, people experience this, right? At the highest level, like Sonia Sotomayor experiences the imposter phenomenon, right? Like Maya Angelou experienced imposter phenomenon, right? Like Dr. Lisette Sanchez experiences the imposter phenomenon. We all do. Every single person feels it, and it's how you move forward despite that feeling, right? Yeah. And so sometimes it's through community and sharing that, so you remember you're not alone, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm gonna tie up these last two questions in one because I know we're short on time, but what the first question is, what makes you a chingona na llorona and what advice do you have for other first gens out there?
I think when it comes to different emotions, like we can shy away from the ones that are uncomfortable, right? We don't want to feel it, so we avoid what makes us sad. But I have been a chillona my whole life, and my tears make everyone uncomfortable. But I've always seen them as a strength because I'm like, I'm feeling the feelings. I'm letting myself like me desahogo, and I think it's a strength to be able to be that raw and honest with yourself. And I think there's just something that's so special around having that depth of a connection. I will cry when I watch movies. I will cry when I listen to books, with podcasts. And I will shamelessly cry. I'm like, and people are like, why do you watch movies that make you cry on the plane? And I'm like, I want to watch the movie, and I don't care that the person next to me is going to have to listen to me bawl for a little bit. Because I'm like, but all jokes aside, I think that, so what makes me a chingona is that, like, sorry, a llorona in that way, but actually a chingona as well, is that, like, I don't shy away from the discomfort and the feelings. And with that, I think that's a big part of trusting myself, trusting my community, and trusting that I can do hard things, I can get through hard things, and leaning into the inspiration of, I have generations of ancestors who did hard things, and they wished for this soft life, right? And so, like, I think those moments of tenderness and crying, although hard, also lean into the softness of letting myself feel, letting myself snuggle. I find that I cry a lot into animals. I don't know about you, but it's like I find comfort in my pets. And so when I was a little girl, we had a little Chihuahua. And when I had my like little sad girl days, I'd go and curl up like next to his bed and I'd cry on him. And now if I get overwhelmed, I do that with my cat. I'll pick him up and I'm like, like that's what I need.
Yeah. So, they're healing. Yes.
They're healing. Our babies are like pets are healing. I call my cat my baby. And so, but I say that's what makes me chingona llorona when it comes to my feelings. And obviously I think of myself as that just because of everything that believing in myself, I think is part of what makes me a chingona is, I never thought of myself as a confident person because I was a very shy girl. When I was younger, I've always been nervous about things. In certain settings, I feel so dysregulated that I don't feel like I can communicate and say what I need. And I was talking actually to my spouse about this, and he was like, "You're so confident. What are you talking about?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Sometimes I don't feel that." And this was when I was first launching and going to private practice and do things. He's like, "Think about the confidence that you need to do everything that a first gen person does. Think of the confidence that you need to believe in yourself, that you'll graduate high school, that you'll go to college, that you'll get that first corporate job, that you'll do whatever it takes. That takes confidence. You can't tell me that any first gen person listening to this who has overcome whatever obstacle, large or small, didn't do that without confidence."
Yeah.
And so we are confident. We just don't always tap into it. We are confident. We're confident. We're confident. And we just need to tap into that. So what I will, and I think the other part, I guess that's part of that's just the thing. Advice I have for other first gens is you are more confident than you realize. And you just need to allow yourself to tap into that. And sometimes confidence feels like being a descarado, like it feels like you're being shameless. Because you're like, me, I wouldn't add that. How I can like creída or whatever negative term you have. And I put the negative terms in because same thing. I call it a brag sheet for a reason. Our value of humility makes us taking up space feel uncomfortable. However, we are so capable of taking up space. And you've already bet on yourselves. Like your sheer existence is betting on yourself. So like keep trusting that.
Yeah.
Tap
Thank
into that
you.
confidence.
Thank you so much. These are not me crying.
I could
think
talk
that
to
was-
you for hours, to be honest. You
Thank you.
I
That was
love
amazing.
this. I hope that we can connect again in the future and
Yes.
we can talk a little bit more of another struggles that as first gens we struggle with, but we don't really talk about it. And I know that there's people out there who are still trying to figure out this first gen experience and are realizing that they are the first gen and that they're
Yeah.
realizing that they're the imposter phenomenon and they're this
Yeah.
individual who might feel that does not have the confidence, but they do. And we're really grateful and we're really happy that you joined us today.
Yes, yes.
But thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful to both of you. Thank you for everything that you do. And, thank you again for creating the space for us to be chillonas and chingonas. at the same time.
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay.
Y recordarles que aquí sí lloramos.
Yes, we do.
Aquí sí lloramos.
Yes.
All right, y'all.
Thank
Okay, so, bye. Thank you.